In a world where hopium and common sense collide, starring the CryptoKeeper and BlockchainCrusader. Welcome to Debate Crypto. Crypto fam, good evening. You know what it is. It is What If Wednesday. Miguel, I don't know about you, bro, but I really look forward to What If Wednesdays. They're one of my favorites. It might actually be my favorite. I love diving deep into some ideas that aren't just the regular, hey, what's going on with the market? What are your thoughts? You
Yeah,
like
I
What If
completely
Wednesday?
agree. What If Wednesday is my favorite for the simple fact that you can get wild with it, right? And go into deep thought process that doesn't get talked about in a regular crypto conversation.
Yeah.
And, it brings a lot of different thoughts that a lot of people don't think about.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So what is on? Actually, hold on, let me stop that. If you are in TikTok, we are live on Debate Crypto. So make sure you guys subscribe over there. For any of you that don't know this, if you are not subscribed to Debate Crypto, you need to be for a couple of reasons. One, you need to learn, right? Two, and we're all about education. Two, we're giving away $500. We are giving away $500 either the day before or 2 days before Christmas. And yeah, if you're subscribed, that's how you are entered into win. Somebody random is going to win $500. It's going to be a great Christmas gift. So X out of live chat if you're already in here. Smash up the likes. Share this to all your friends. We are really trying to grow, and we're actually growing at a pretty good pace. But obviously, we want to keep that rocking and rolling. So Miguel, speaking of rocking and rolling, what are we rocking and rolling into tonight?
What if the US dollar crashes, right? What if this is the ending of the US empire and we're beginning to see the fall? Are we going to head for deflation or hyperinflation? That's what we're going to be covering tonight, getting deep into that thought process.
Yeah, so let's actually start off just with an article I want to touch on first, okay? It says inflation puts White House on defensive as Manchin raises concerns about new spending. Now, I'm not going to read this whole thing. I'm going to read a couple parts of it though. The White House is
Zoom in a little
thrown.
bit. Zoom in a little bit.
You want me to zoom in? Yeah.
Yeah.
That?
There you go. Yeah, good.
Better?
Yep.
White House was thrown on the defensive Wednesday by an inflation report that showed the largest annual increase in prices in 3 decades, triggering fresh criticisms of President Biden's legislative plans on Capitol Hill and raising questions about what the administration can do to stem the politically perilous tide of rising prices. High inflation risks undercutting one of Biden's central messages that he has made life better for the average American by creating millions of jobs, overseeing a jump in wages, creating new social programs, and delivering millions of vaccines. That may be a harder case to make if many Americans see the prices of their groceries and other goods continue to climb. So, excuse me. The reality is, I hate to say it, and you know what? It doesn't matter. Democrat, Republican, Miguel and I were talking about this before the stream. I don't think it matters who is in office right now. No, hold on. It definitely matters who's in office for sure. But what I'm getting at is because of the chaos from the fog heard around the world or seen around the world, right? Because of that, there's just a lot of just things that are unsettling, that are not the quote unquote norm, and we're trying to figure out how to get back to normal. Now, I don't think there was ever again fog. I think is about what it was, right? We're not going to get into all of that, the politics of that. But the reality is, one of the ways that we had to quote unquote we had to pull, the country out of this was spending, and it came in the form of stimulus, among other things. But it was trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. And for those of you that don't understand economics, Miguel is about to explain to you inflation. Miguel, explain inflation.
So inflation, right? Very simple concept to understand. Inflation is when you devalue your currency. And how does this happen? You have a certain supply of money, right, which has a certain value. Now you add more money into this circulating supply. The circulating supply grows. Each individual dollar loses value, and that is what happens with all this money printing that we saw when the fog started around the world. We saw trillions of dollars being printed. I think the statistics is somewhere around Yeah, it's trillions with a T, but the statistics is about 30 to 40% of all money that's ever existed was printed in the last year, 2 years and a half, a year and a half or so since the fog started. So just think about that for a second, guys. 30 to 40% of the circulating supply of US dollars around the world right now, not just in the US, around the entire world, were printed in a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Imagine what that does to the value of the dollar you have right now when they almost 50%, double the money supply that was already existing. Of course, we're seeing inflation. Inflation doesn't happen from one day to the next. Just like the Bitcoin halving happens, it doesn't happen from 1 minute to the next. We see a shock supply and Bitcoin just starts to explode. It doesn't work that way. It's a gradual effect. Same thing with money printing and inflation. Take gradual effect, and now we're seeing it, right? We saw something about now that Turkey Day is coming up. A turkey last year was around $22. That same turkey right now is costing about $55. We're seeing the articles, 6.2%, the highest level of inflation ever in the last 30 years of the United States.
Yep.
Those are your results from money printing.
Yeah, and let's make it high school simple here. You show up to the party, right? Everybody's hanging out, and you guys are, I never promote drinking underage, but let's say maybe you were having a couple beverages, right? We'll leave it at that. And it gets down to where there's only a couple beverages left. Those are going to be pretty valuable, right? Because they're scarce. Ultimately, what we are doing by just printing money like it's going out of style is we are flooding the market, making the actual value decrease. Because listen, how tough is it if you just know, yeah, it's this or it's that, or oh yeah, you can get that anytime, anywhere, any place. Well, then all of a sudden the value starts to decrease, and there's a lot more to it than but we are simplifying it because we want to make things as simple as possible. So what does that look like for Bitcoin? What does that look like for cryptocurrency? Well, on its face, some would say, hey, we shouldn't be complaining about this because this shows a use case and this shows a positive. This is a net positive for Bitcoin. But I would argue that it's only a net positive for so long. It starts off as a positive because then Bitcoin is looked at kind of like gold was looked at for a while as basically the hedge against inflation, right? And not even just kind of, that is what people have been using it for. And it is absolutely accelerating in value. But at some point, as we continue to print, yeah, it could say that Bitcoin's at 250K, and that same 250K is more like 140K. You understand what I'm saying? Like basically we are putting so much money into circulation that the number looks high, right? But in all actuality, it's not. We've got inflation going on. Miguel, what are your initial thoughts on this?
So my initial thoughts on the Bitcoin and inflation thing is initially, like you said, everyone thinks, and I think it too, right? Oh, this is great for Bitcoin short term. US dollar being devalued means more use case for Bitcoin, more reason to adopt Bitcoin. You're going to be seeing the companies like Elon Musk, right? That he runs SpaceX and Tesla. What did he say during the plan? Was it the Plan B or the B word event? The B word event. He said that he was buying up Bitcoin to get out of the dollar because of the fees and the devaluing, that it was actually not worth for him to hold dollars for his company's balance sheet. You're going to be seeing more of this in the short term, which is good for Bitcoin. But like you said, right, there's the opposite to inflation, which is deflation. And if we start to see deflation, which I don't see, you're going to have to explain to the people how you see that possibly playing out. I know BitBoy Crypto Ben also believes that deflation will be coming, and everyone's expecting to get out of the dollar, and then deflation, is going to hit everybody in the face like no tomorrow. But deflation would be the worst thing for Bitcoin, because we would see Bitcoin's price actually be dropping as the US dollar gains value and more people sit on cash, and people will be leaving their positions in Bitcoin to be sitting on cash.
Yeah. So I'm going to get into deflation here in just a second, but I do want to read this, right? So it says right here. Where did it go? Where did it go? Where did it go? By all accounts, the threat posed by record inflation to the American people is not transitory. You guys have heard that word 100 times, right? If you're paying any attention at all, transitory. The inflation's transitory, right? And it is getting instead worse. Manchin said in a statement Wednesday, from the grocery store to the gas pump, Americans know the inflation tax is real, and DC can no longer ignore the economic pain Americans feel every day. Okay, so we are at a point where inflation is in the public eye and it is being pushed out there. The first thing I want to say is what's the worst, what's the scariest 8 words you've ever heard? Hi, we're from the government and we're here to help, right? The reality is, and I think people are starting to see this, is that if something is laid in front of you and given to you and showed to you by our lovely government, right? There's probably a reason why. And they ultimately have been showing us recently, in my opinion, that they are willing to defend. They're not willing to defend our freedoms. They're willing to cover their own ass. Okay. They are ultimately trying to do whatever they can to scramble to either look good or make things better for themselves. Okay. So now they lay in front of us this idea of inflation and say, watch out, inflation's coming. Now they're talking about it, right? Before transitory, it's going to slow down. It's going to slow down. And now the train's been moving so fast and they're like, holy, I just, watch out, guys. Inflation's coming. Here's my problem. I think that the people are too smart, are too intelligent to not know that if you continue to print money like this, that the dollar is going to collapse. That is literally simple economics, right? You look at Venezuela, you look at any of these other countries that have just went nuts with money printing, and what the story is told, it absolutely collapses that economy. Now, we're talking about the US dollar. We're talking about the country that is supposed to be, we haven't been acting like it lately, but that is supposed to be the world superpower in charge, and we hold the world reserve currency. Miguel, can you just tell me in a one-word answer, what is the most valuable thing on planet Earth that is not money?
That is not money?
Yeah.
Land.
Well, your power, right?
Well, yeah. So, land equates to power, right? Equates to military force. Yes.
It was definitely a good answer. But so what I was thinking there is power, right? And I guess what I'm thinking is that I can't see a scenario where our government, who knows that we've painted ourselves into a corner, right? They know that. They also know that the people now know that, right?
Yep.
They also know the rest of the world now knows that. And they also know that they don't want to give up the power. So what do they have to do? They have to make the dollar stand back up. They can't continue to just blast off with the dollar, right? And the reality is, whether we want to face this or not, we do have banks. Wells Fargo no longer giving lines of credit. Why would they do that? If we were going to continue to print, it would be financially advantageous for them to give out loans. Why would they do that? They do that because they are preparing for the fact that they want to hold and be and they want to be cash heavy, right? They want to be set up. They want to be cash heavy. I think it's very coincidental as well that the real estate market is where it is. The stock market is where it is. The crypto markets are where they are. Everything is at like all-time highs. But if you look around, we are in the worst place we have probably ever been as a society. And that's hard to argue, right? The Great Depression, probably you could argue, economically, financially, maybe we were in a worse place at that point. But so I'm going to let you jump in on this, Miguel, and then I'll jump into deflation after that. But I want you to tell me, you paint yourself into a corner. Let's do a hypothetical. You paint yourself into a corner. You don't know where to go, but you do know that you're the man in charge and you make the decisions, and these decisions affect the rest of the world, and you can stay in power if you do something. What are you going to do? You know that continuing to print is gonna put your back all the way up against the wall. So how do
Yeah.
you get the corner?
So I'm going to answer your question and Bobby's at the same time, right? So Bobby's saying people understand, the smartest people understand, right? Common people understand that with the basics, why don't they just stop what they're doing if they understand what's happening with the dollar? And that's kind of what you're asking me too, right? What if you keep printing, you're going to keep putting your back up against the wall? Well, the problem is, I believe they can't stop. That's the problem. They can't stop. They are in a vicious cycle of debt to loan that they cannot come out of. They can only pay their debts by printing more money. And this is why it's titled "What if the U.S. dollar it crashes?" Right? I believe that they understand and they know they are on a downward slope. The dollar is dying, and the only thing they can do with quantitative easing is put the brakes on it. Right? They can slow down how much money they print, and they can pick up speed again, and things go down faster, right? Or they can slow down money printing, but they can't stop money printing because that's not the world we live in. We live in a world created by debt, and to pay off these debts, they need to print more money and more money, right? There's two schools of thought about this. It's the I forgot what their names are right now, but one of them is basically printing money to steal from yourself from the future, which is what the United States does. And
Yep.
the other thought process is, you save money to be able to pay off, to be able to buy things in the future. We don't do that kind of school of economics in the United States. And the problem is, once we go in and we've printed so much to create this level of debt, we cannot stop now. Another person that talks about this is Richard Duncan. He's an economist. He's an economist. He wrote the book The Dollar Crisis, and he speaks about, I forgot what the term is, if it's CPI or there's a economical term that basically gauges how much money printing, kind of inflation, your government, your money
You're talking
supply
about
can
the consumer
handle.
price index. Yeah. Okay.
It's not the consumer price index, so it's not. I don't think it's the CPI. It's another term,
Okay.
and basically it gauges how far you can stretch your dollars
Okay.
before things get real bad. And there's a certain threshold that you cannot cross and come back from.
Well, we passed that a long time ago.
Exactly. He points out in 2012, 2013 that we already had passed that threshold by quite a bit. Now we come to 2021 where we've printed 30 to 40% of the supply in a year and a half. We're way beyond that threshold. So this is the problem where I think that, yes, deflation could happen to maybe some aspect, but I don't think that the dollar can be saved. I do not believe that they can make a U-turn and turn things around for the dollar, and this is just temporary. I think this goes back to, we are in a downward slope, and they can just put the brakes on it to slow things down, but they can't stop. The crash is coming, the collapse is coming, and at the end of the day, historically, every empire has fallen, and it all started with money inflation with their current supply. They've inflated their own currency to zero, and
Yep.
we are on the same exact path.
So here's my problem with that. They're headed downhill. They know they're headed downhill. You're saying they pump the brakes, right? What I'm trying to say is they're turning around and going to try to climb back up the hill, right? And so what do I mean by that? I mean, literally, they say, listen, if we keep going down, we're going to get to the bottom, and we're going to, when I say collapse, it's not just collapse, it's no coming back. Now, if you stop on the hill and you try to basically take a train that's moving fast, you get it to a complete stop, and then you try to move it back up the hill. Well, that's going to be absolute chaos. Things are going to be absolutely awful, terrible. I believe, and I did a TikTok on this a while ago, and it actually went semi-viral. It had a few 100,000 likes or whatever. They actually took it down. And I thought this was really interesting. TikTok gave me a community guidelines violation for this. And essentially what I said was, the only way to save our economy that we live in today is to crush it. And I guess what I'm thinking is the government does know everything that you just said, and they know that putting on the brakes just slows down the train. But ultimately, what needs to happen is it needs to go back uphill, and the only way it goes back uphill is by allowing the economy to collapse in on itself. Because let's be real, who is that at the end of it? Who's going to get bailed out? The big dogs, right? Just like 2008, the banks got bailed out. The
But you
people
can't bail anybody out if you're going to crush the economy.
well,
There
what do
is
you
no
mean?
bailout.
What do you mean? No,
You're saying the
no.
only way to solve the U.S. dollar problem is by
It's to
crushing the
crush it.
economy to
Yes,
restart,
to
right?
allow
With that
it.
crush,
Yep.
there are no bailouts.
What I, what
Everyone
no
is
what
getting
I'm what
crushed.
I'm trying to say is they will be the ones that are bailed out because they are the ones that are going to be cash flow heavy, cash flow positive. They can hold on to cash. The dollar is then going to be valued again. So the idea behind the deflation, in my estimation, is that's the only way that we turn it back around. Before actual all out deflation kicks in, and I will tell you, Miguel, lumber as an example was up 500, 600, 1,000% on some stuff, right? It is significantly back down. Okay. 2x4s, literally, we had 2x12s by 16s. We're up to $154. I just bought one the other day for 55. Okay. So incredible difference there. Some of that stuff is slowing down. So there are a number of things that are starting to slow down. And what will happen is they can't announce, hey, we're moving towards deflation, because what happens before deflation? It's stagflation. And stagflation just says, hey, look, my dollar is going to be worth more later, so I'm going to save it. And the reason that the America never moves towards that is because we live in such a this is what will be pitched to you, that we live in such a capitalistic society that saving is not what our government has wanted you to do. They do not want you waiting until later to spend. They want you to spend right now. They want you pumping money, pumping money. We actually look at the health of, and there's a term for this, I forget what it's called, but we basically look at the health of our economy on what we are actually spending. That's a really bad metric. Now, do I have some perfect, great answer for it? Absolutely not. I don't. But the stagflation kicks in first. So I think we're going to go through a period where there is going to be absolutely, the markets are going to drop. There's going to be a lot of fear. Markets are going to drop. People are going to not be, all of a sudden, interest rates are going to rise. Bond yields are going to rise. All of those things are going to happen. And people are going to ball up and say, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? At this point, no more money is being printed. We are starting to stop the train, move the other direction. A lot of people are going to be hurt in the process, including these big companies. They're going to get hurt, but they're not going to get crushed. The inflation, ultimately, there's no stopping. Once, I guess what I'm saying is, if you think we're headed to the bottom of the hill, that means they have conceded the idea that we no longer are going to be the world superpower. I don't believe that for 1 second.
So the
No way.
problem where I see with your argument as well is you think that they can crush the economy and bounce back and stay number one. If they crush the economy, other countries have already been foreseeing this happening as well and are in positions to overtake the dollar and not keep the dollar as the world reserve currency and overtake the US by the time they recover, because it's not going to be a 3-month process. And if we are to crush the economy, right, if we are to crush the economy to reset it, then we are
but we're headed towards a new world order here, is what I'm kind of like. And
yes, but that new world order won't keep the US as number one.
But
it just can't. It just can't, because you can't crush something that has been running the world and then recover fast enough to stay on top. Other countries will jump in and take over the US dollar.
Totally agree with you. But the dollar itself doesn't just go down to be nothing. Ultimately, I believe we are going to have some sort of a wild.
We're practically at nothing right now. What the U.S. dollar was what it's worth.
We're not anywhere.
Not
near
figuratively, literally.
We're not anywhere near like with what Venezuela went through. But what I'm getting at is that we have a lot of people that are piling into crypto. It has been introduced, right? Now, all of a sudden, people like the idea and are looking at the idea of digital currency, right? And they're saying, oh, what's this? Now, all of a sudden, what's being talked about? Stable coins. What's the first thing all the banks are going after? Stable coins. We have central bank digital currencies being talked about. I think we are getting groomed. I think they're just petting our backs, right? Just saying, okay, learn a little bit. We're going to fight it so that it looks like we're not all about it. And in the background, something is happening to be able to ultimately present, hey, listen, here's the solution. It's the, what is it? Hegelian dialectic, I think it
Yeah.
is, where
Yeah.
basically
Presenting
you
the
create
problem
a
and solution.
problem. You create a problem so that you can give the solution. And that Hegelian dialectic, I think is how you say it. Yeah, Hegelian dialectic is exactly what I see going on. I see the fact that I believe you, Miguel, and I agree with you where you're saying, hey, look, this is rolling so fast downhill that we just don't even know what to do. I think they hit the brakes so hard, try to stop, turn around, try to look like, hey, we're fixing this. Bond yields rise. All of these things start happening. Things start to collapse in on itself, but not full on collapse. And they say, oh, wait a minute. We have a solution for you.
But the
And we
problem,
come out with
the other thing
centralized
is,
currencies, among
the other
other
thing
things.
that the other thing that we're not considering is we're talking about this, right? Like we're talking about, oh, it's gonna hurt some people. It's gonna not hurt people. It's gonna destroy lives, right?
Yep.
If you guys have looked up the history of the Great
It's like all the
Depression.
small business owners from all this BS that they put us through recently.
Well, yeah, but even then, that's nowhere near the level of the Great Depression, right? What we're talking about here will create food shortages, will create jobless people that will not be able to afford to eat or pay or keep their own houses. It will be the Great Depression at a tenfold, because if the Great Depression was bad in a time where we had just came out of, a few years after World War One, some bad economical decisions were made, and we had a Great Depression. Imagine now, so many decades later, after all the manipulation to the dollar, after so many decades after getting off the gold standard, so many decades after money printing and destroying the dollar with the war, the industrial military complex, and what we've been doing there. This is not just the United States. And somebody in the comment mentioned it. If the U.S. goes down, everyone goes down too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, right. So this is going to be a global catastrophic
100%.
situation where it's
Yes.
not going to be like the fog around the world where people just stayed home. And if people were fighting for food and stores were out of food when the fog around the world kicked in,
Yep.
what we're talking about right here, there will be no food
This is
supplies
gonna get
coming
wild.
back to the stores.
Do you not believe that?
Huh?
Do you not believe that? I believe this is going to get absolutely wild. I believe that the somebody asked in my TikTok chat, they said, "Well, then what do we do to prepare?" And I want to ask you, Miguel, what you think. My thought is, I want to be, I want to be asset heavy. And obviously one of the assets long term that's not going to rise in the number that's going to be created is Bitcoin, right? That's Bitcoin and
Yes.
Ethereum are digital assets. We are moving into that digital revolution. It is happening. It is here. I think you're heavy in those. I think real estate is listen, we are getting set up in my current town. I forget if I told you this, Miguel, but in my current town, good friend of mine owns a real estate company, or I mean, he's a broker, right? And so ultimately, they sell a lot of freaking houses. He is in bed, so to speak, with a whole bunch of hedge fund managers. Okay, these hedge funds openly admit that they are buying up the home prices in the area at much higher prices to drive up the average home price. Why are they doing that? They're doing that, and they joke about it. From what he was telling me, they're joking about the fact that, guess what? When the market does crash, everyone is going to be looking for a place to rent, and guess who's gonna have it? Come to Papa, right? And it's literally that idea that you hear us talk about. And I know it sounds crazy, and people,
Yes.
listen, I know this sounds crazy, but the idea is own nothing and be happy. And that's where we are headed if we don't make a change. And so I say stay
I
asset.
mean, that we're headed there regardless. There is no changing this. There's no average
How
citizen
are they going
or
to push me out of my
politician.
house?
Huh?
How are they going to push me out of my home?
It's not that they're going to push you out of your home. You're just not going to be able to live in that home. You're not going to have anything. You're not going to have food. You're not going to have electricity, right? We're talking about level of Great Depression situations. everything is going to go away. You might own a home now and you might not lose your home one way or another, but a lot of other people don't own homes and have been trying to own homes. So it's not going to affect everybody exactly the same. Some people will lose more than others.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. It gets people to the point where they break you completely. And the purpose is that they're going to come and save you. They're going to come and give you the solution, right? Whether it's rented homes, right? You see these Plan 8 section homes where the government pays the real estate company and you pretty much live there for free, paying practically nothing. That will be that would be a big, Section 8. There you go. That's going to be a bigger and bigger thing in the future. That's why these hedge funds are buying up these houses, right? And they're going to keep you dependent on the government. When there's no more food, when the stores run out of food, when the stores can't provide what you can and you can't provide for yourself anymore because the dollar has crashed, they're going to come and save you. And by doing that, they're going to either print more money, they're going to give you credits, they're going to give you whatever it takes that then says, hey, now you can get food. Hey, we're going to deliver you food. Hey, we're going to give you a home. Hey, we're going to give you this. But it's all about being completely dependent on the government. And if you want these benefits to continue, you're going to have to vote certain ways. And you're going to have to vote for certain people, which are the people that are going to keep giving you what you need. Because now you have become so dependent, you cannot live without it. Right? Universal basic income. They talk about it all the time. That is going to be one of the many things that's going to be proposed as a solution when this reset happens. They're going to be giving you money. They're going to be giving you homes. They're going to be giving you food. They're going to be giving you everything, and you're going to have nothing. You're not going to have your own home. You're not going to have a way to provide food for yourself. You're not going to have a way to provide money for yourself. You're not going to have anything. And that's what they want.
So, okay. So let's step back for a second.
So you asked earlier, what do you do to prepare? Being asset heavy. That's good, right? That's okay. But realistically, you can't eat your assets. So what do? You prep and you gather up as much food as you can for long periods of time, right? We're getting into the prepping over here, real life prepping, right? Gather up food, gather up resources, gather up people that have different skills than you do, and have a community of people that can help you with these difficult times. Because in these difficult times, people are not going to just be peacefully outside waiting for the government to show up with their food, right? People are going to be eating each other alive. We saw what happened in the riots during the fog around the world. We saw what happened at the stores when the stores ran out of toilet paper, right? So imagine now you're starving.
You think I very much need my firearms that are in my house right now?
100%. What happened? It was proven in 2020. What happened when food started getting scarce? No toilet paper, no this, no jobs. What did the people first do? They ran to the gun store. Guns were flying off shelves.
Oh yeah,
everyone was buying it. Even the people that said, I'm not about firearms. I don't like firearms. I'm a Democrat. I'm a libertarian. I'm a whatever. They were buying up firearms because when the push comes to shove, that's the great equalizer, right? So if you're a big buff guy or you're a scrawny little dude, that's the great equalizer, whether you're a woman or you're a man or whatever.
No doubt.
So that's the only way you're going to be able to defend yourself, defend your resources if you have resources, right? Because let's say you don't have firearms and you have all this food, you have all these things in your house, all these resources, you've been prepared. You're a smart person. You are prepared. Your neighbors are going to notice, hey, this guy, he's not showing up to the food lines. He's not out here screaming for food and begging and crawling for a bottle of water when the government trucks show up. Hey, this guy's not losing weight like the rest of us. He's looking good, right? We're over here all dying of starvation, losing pounds per day. But this guy is looking like he's gained a few. What does he got in his house? And they're gonna get desperate, right? People have children. Their children are going to be starving. And when push comes to shove, the violence will come out of you, even if you were not a violent person when it comes to these drastic measures. And if you don't have firearms in your house, you can have all the resources you want, but the sacks of rice are not going to defend you from the angry mob sitting outside. And if you think, oh, I'll just have enough where I can trade with them, I can give them some when they need it, it will never be enough, and they will take every grain and every single resource you have until they suck you dry, and you end up with nothing. You're gonna have to end up drawing the line, and you're gonna have to fight back. So
how, okay. So, all right. So first of all, you are literally, what's the Denzel Washington movie where he's blonde? Well, oh shoot. Well, spoiler alert, whatever.
yes, Eli. It's called Eli.
Book of Eli.
Book of Eli. Yes.
Book of Eli. Okay. So basically, you are suggesting that we are headed towards literally a full on fallout as we know it. I personally don't see that. Okay. I see us absolutely,
well, not fallout to the point where, like you said, or somebody just said in the comments, oh, no electricity is gone, internet, no crypto. No. Just like how when the fog around the world started, the lights were still running, right? Things were still kept going. Civilization was still there. Just civilization quickly took a shift from, oh, I need to go to the store and buy up as much as I can right now. And shelves were running out of stuff. The government was showing up to parks, giving away resources, right? But it's going to drastically get worse to the point where supply lines can only take so much. Workers can only, there are only so many truckers out there, and things are going to start collapsing to the point where it's going to be fully dependent on the government. Things will still be running, but you will be dependent on the government for food, for shelter, for everything. But it won't be like Book of Eli, where there is no electricity, there is no government, there is no nothing, and it's just wild west. So, apocalyptic survival.
Totally side note, just because I saw her name in the chat, Hazley, I emailed you back, so make sure you look at that. Welcome to the DCA fan, by the way. That gives me actually just a good point to just say this. Guys, if you're in the live chat, make sure you X out for 2 seconds, smash up the likes. It really does help our stream. It tells more people, hey, we really like what these two guys are doing, right? We do appreciate each and every one of you. Again, as a reminder, if you're not subscribed, we're giving away $500 either a day or two before Christmas. $500. Now, after listening to this stream, you're probably not going to want the $500. You're probably going to think, wait a minute, I could probably use the $500 out back and as fire.
Well, they're going to need those $500 to stack up some grains, stack up some food, stack up some resources. That's what they're going to need the $500 for.
So this is a crypto channel, right? We're all about crypto. So here's kind of my thoughts. First thing, if we start heading in that direction, what do you think that means for crypto? Second question, following that up, my question would be, how long do you think we're looking before something like this happens? Because I see a little bit different twist on this. I see more towards the Ready Player One type scenario for what you're talking about, where we are going to have this quote great reset. There's going to be a time, maybe a couple years, where things just suck. Money's not going to be how it needs to be. Things are going to be tough no matter basically what you do. But as that's happening, we are going to be introduced to all of these great technologies, right? And they're coming out right now, right? The metaverse being one of them. And it gets presented on the front end as this great thing. Whereas really what it ends up being used for is to keep you in your house more, is to keep control of what you're doing, where you're doing it, when you're doing it, why you're doing it. And I think it's more of a digital stay at home, right? It's more of a, let's get people used to being scared of shaking hands and interacting with each other face to face. And then let's give them a solution, i.e. come to save the day Meta, i.e. Facebook, right?
Yeah, metaverse.
So how far out do you, so how far out do you see this happening if that's the case? And then the question becomes, what does this mean for our precious cryptocurrency?
Yeah, so somebody asked, right, what does this mean for crypto, right? Somebody walked in and said, hey, I just walked in. What have I walked into? I thought this was debate crypto. Yes, right? What's going on here, right? So the way to answer that is, what I've been describing is what you've been talking about, crushing the economy to restart the dollar up. And that is why I believe they don't want to do that, because they know it will get that level of ugly, right? So I think their strategy, which is what I've been saying, is putting the brakes on things and slowing the descent. But the descent is happening. And how do they do that? They slow
Well,
down
where do they
money
go?
printing.
Where do they
Huh?
go? If you just hold on to
You
brakes,
know
you
you're
don't
gonna
get
hit
it to
the
the
bottom
bottom.
eventually, but you can slow how long it takes for you to get to the bottom. And what do they do along the way? They distract you with the metaverse. They get people programmed to stay in. They give people other things to take their mind off of the descent in the economy, and they introduce you to the metaverse. They introduce you to different ways of making digital money, right? Adopting cryptocurrencies.
Okay.
That's how they're just slowing down the descent to eventually replace, whether it's the dollar or they adopt a Bitcoin standard, a crypto standard, whatever it is, right? We've seen things like Olympus DAO, right? That is a pretty much a digital treasury that works like fiat, but on a program level that knows how to balance things and contrast the money supply or expand the money supply as is needed to keep the money flowing, versus the US dollar cannot contrast. They can only forever expand. They do not have a contraction without destroying the economy. So this is what's happening. This is how they slow us down. And this is why I think this is a more likely scenario, right? Having inflation is easier to handle than having deflation, because it can lead to such uglier scenes, because inflation can be controlled how quickly you inflate, but you can't control how quickly you deflate the situation, because things get real ugly, right? You become illiquid real quick, and then things get stuck. And we live in a world, like you said earlier, where we need to be spending, spending, spending,
Well,
spending. In a world of deflation, you don't spend, you hold.
we've
You hold.
created the world that where we
Yes.
need to spend, 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 spend,
Yeah.
spend.
And by we, I don't mean us. By we, the people that run the world, right?
Yeah.
That's why credit cards were created, so that you can have greater access to money to spend at a future date. You're stealing
Right.
from your salary in the future. You're saying, I don't have $2,000 right now, but I have a credit card with $10,000 of fake money, and I can
Exactly.
swipe, swipe, swipe right now, and I'll just keep working in debt forever to eventually pay off this with my future salary.
So doesn't this so first of all, either side of that argument, you could come up with the fact that maybe dun, da, 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 in comes the government to save the day with the new
Yes.
digital dollar, right? Here we go,
Yes.
Hegelian dialectic, dialectic, just like I
Yes.
was
Yes.
saying earlier, right? And that's what it is, literally flying in like Superman. Don't worry, we're from the government and we're here to help. And here's the thing.
100%.
Here's the crazy part about it. The people that are in this chat, both these chats, all of these chats, wherever you guys are coming from, you are part of the 1%. You are part of the people that are going to be ahead of the bell curve, right? You are going to you are going to understand the idea, or at least you're on your way to understanding the idea behind digital currency, behind digital assets, behind NFTs, behind block, how does blockchain work? What does Bitcoin look like? Why is Bitcoin such a valuable asset? What makes it uh, what makes it do what it's been doing? So at any event, what I'm getting at is all of this tees up for the idea that Bitcoin could, if used correctly, could ultimately save a lot of this. And you know why it won't? Because the only way that it does is if decentralization wins. And as much as I'd love that, I don't see that happening. I don't see, and listen, guys, we're not trying to be a buzzkill tonight. We like to listen. You did walk in to debate crypto. We're debating some ideas as to what the world's going to look like. If you guys don't like put your freaking glasses on and see that things are not good right now, and the reality is we're all trying to pivot. We're all trying to make decisions. I have a very nice portfolio. I'm trying to figure out like what is the smartest way to handle this? How do I make my money work for me in the best manner possible? And when we don't know what our upper echelon, if you will, I hate looking at it that way, but the people that are making decisions above my head, what if we don't know what they're ultimately planning? We don't know what they're ultimately doing. Well, then we've got decisions to be made upon unknowns. And so how do we take the
Yeah.
unknown out and give ourselves that asset that ultimately can set us up for success? And right now, that those assets are Bitcoin and Ethereum, at least those two.
So I agree. I believe that the government does see crypto as the salvation to their situation. And Hazley Jane, which by the way, guys, is a new member of the DCA fam
Welcome.
here.
Heck yeah,
Uh,
Hazley.
she is saying that they will slow down crypto development with regulation until they can regulate or manipulate enough to rebuild and develop the digital dollar. Yes and no. I think with
Not a terrible thought.
what they recently passed, in the infrastructure bill about crypto, right? What was it? What was the exact words that you told me about DeFi that they're coming after? That they we spoke about on the phone just the other day. Remember what the exact words were? No,
No.
that they're coming after DeFi in basically in a way where that you are liable to know the other person that is
Oh, yeah.
right.
They're basically making it so that if you and I have a transaction of $10,000
Yeah.
or more, you are essentially like you have to have my social security number. You basically have to KYC me, and you're not an exchange. You have to make those.
Yes. So according to that, right, what that regulation is doing is that regulation is restricting us, the average citizen, from accessing DeFi legally, right? But that won't apply to banks. That won't apply to institutions. Institutions will be able to use DeFi and decentralized protocols to their benefit and put their money into it to grow it drastically for themselves without leaving us out of it. I don't think they want to get rid of DeFi. I think they just want to get us out of the way of DeFi, and they want to use DeFi
But then
for
it's not DeFi.
themselves.
But then it's not DeFi at that
Well,
point.
it's DeFi because the protocol you're using is decentralized. The
Okay,
protocol that you're
right. But if it's
doing
the
is
centralized entities
decentralized. But
controlling
the
everything about it,
centralized entities, exactly, the centralized entities are controlling the decentralized protocol and taking us out of the picture to continuously be the position of power.
right?
And that's what I think they're trying to do. And that's why I believe that they think crypto is the solution. They just need to figure out how to
Need to position.
manipulate it, like Jane was saying, to
Yeah,
position themselves
yeah.
in that position to take control of it and save the dollar in that aspect.
If they don't put themselves in a position, because again, this is one of those stopping a moving train. Mudsta, I think, said DeFi affects bond yields, thus destroys banking. That's where it's headed if nothing is done and people continue to get educated, right? Part of the reason we want to get people educated is because there is a better way. There is no reason, none, and I always get heated up about this, that you should be putting money into any sort of an account with a centralized entity like a bank and them handing you back 0.01 to 0.06, maybe if you're lucky, percent interest on your money when they are loaning it out for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 15, 20%. The numbers are staggering. It is
Yes.
disgusting what they are, I mean, literally, I hate to put it this way, but it is literally as if you are being violated. I'll leave it at that. I won't say it,
Yes.
you are
So
being violated by these banks.
yeah. So Melissa is saying, so that's where I have concerns with crypto and not wanting to be part of the evil. The problem is that all money is the root
It is
of
evil.
evil already.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
but money makes the world go round. The money's never gonna disappear from society. So even if you don't partake in crypto, you're just going to be left behind, and the you're going to be left behind. You're going to miss the transfer of wealth that is happening, which is presenting an opportunity for you right now. And at the end of the day, once it gets mass adopted, whether by its governments, banks, whatever, you're going to be forced to come in and play by the rules anyway. So
And you're
there's
going to be
no way
late to the
you're
party.
going to avoid it. What was
Yeah.
that?
And she's going to be late to the party at that point.
Yes.
This is
Yes.
the opportunity to position yourself. This is actually, I think, and I heard someone say this, so I can't take credit for this, but I think this is the only time in history that the average man, right, the average person, when I say man, I mean man, woman, whatever,
Yeah.
has the opportunity, not an institution, to go first. We literally
Yes.
are in a position to be. Listen, I can promise you this. Now the numbers are going to be different because an institution is going to be able to spend so much more. But I can guarantee you that almost almost across the board, these institutions, I have a lower point of entry on my Ethereum than almost all these institutions. I have a lower point of entry into Bitcoin than all of these institutions. I have a lower cost basis, is what it's called, than a lot of these institutions. So the opportunity is there to give ourselves that step up. Where our government takes it, where life takes it. Listen, you're along for the ride anyway. We're moving digital anyway. If you don't already understand that banking is digital, just have the electric go out one day and then go into your bank and say, hey, I'd like to make a withdrawal. They're going to tell you, well, you're going to have to wait till the electric comes back on because we don't have a paper ledger with all of your accounts written down. When I transfer money from one account to another and I can do it instantly like that, do you think an armored truck is driving from point A to point B? Do you think when I paid for $15,000 worth of composite today for one of our job sites and I made that payment over the phone, do you think that ultimately an armored truck said, back the truck up, pulled up to my bank, picked up $15,000, drove over to no. It is zeros and ones, right? Moving around in space.
Yes.
And that is where we're at as it is. We just have a better, more efficient, futuristic way, which is becoming and is now blockchain.
Yeah. So great comments in the chat, guys. Keep it coming. So Alan says money is just a resource, 100%, but it's a resource that right now you can gather a lot of with the opportunity that that crypto is presenting, putting you in a position where now you can be rich in a resource that will make you financially free and independent from all these governments, from all these banks, institutions. And now you can set yourself up, you can set your life up in a certain way where you don't ever have to worry about these things anymore. Because I forgot who it was. I believe it was Grant Cardone, I believe his name is, the big buff dude in real estate.
No,
has Grant the gray hair,
big buff dude. No, you're talking about
not him.
But yeah, I got you. We got you. I know who you're talking about though.
You know what I'm talking about? You don't know his name though.
Well, Grant Cardone used to be the car sales guy, then got into real estate. I wouldn't call him a big buff guy, but he's a big dude. I mean,
yeah,
I know
whatever.
what you're talking about, but whatever.
Him. Yeah. He was recently talking about inflation, right? And he was talking about the price of milk going higher and higher. And his answer was, put yourself in a position where that price of milk becomes irrelevant to you. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he said. Basically, have enough money that it doesn't matter what the level of milk of price, the price of milk is, how high these inflation prices are, that you're not worried about it. And that's exactly what I'm telling this person, Alan, that's saying money is a resource. Get enough money with what crypto is presenting to you right now that you don't have to worry about these things in the future. Rich people are not scared of inflation. They're not worried about these economical issues because they are prepared. They have assets, they have cash, and they have strategies to navigate all these waters. And the strategies are only available if you have the assets and if you have the cash. Not if you're just trying to create a portfolio or trying to create an accumulation of assets or whatever it is you want to call it.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, there's a ton of great comments that you guys are throwing out here. Hazley asked again. We've mentioned her name a couple times. She had a couple good questions here. Are the institutions going to be buying the dips during the bear market? The institutions are going to be creating the dips, okay? And so
buying
it, and then buying it, right? Think about this. Think about if you were in a position to push a market around, to be able to create fear, create confidence, create fear, create confidence, create fear, create confidence. Well, ultimately, that's what is happening, okay? And there's a level at which this can be and is manipulated. And let's be real. You can call it insider trading. You can call it anything you want. They don't have insider trading right now as it relates to crypto. But if you don't think that this happens in the stock market, just look at Nancy Pelosi's husband. Okay, he literally is God's gift to investing, right? And his wife just happens to be in bed and on with a number of these companies that they have made hundreds of millions of dollars. It's disgusting. Okay. So this stuff already happens. So what I'm trying to get at is, yes, they will be buying the dips. They will create the dips, then they will buy the dips. They will create the dips, then they will buy the dips. And then somebody else said, are we Where did it go? Where did it go? Where did it go? Oh, it said,
Huh.
yeah. So are you all hodlers, or do you sell the tops and buy back in the bear market? The reality is,
Yeah.
we are, yeah. So we're long term hodlers by nature, right? And we have held through some tough times, right?
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
2017 till now, we've gone through some great times and some tough times. The great times have been happening now, but the reality is, this is why we educate people. Debate Crypto Academy, right, where we've got a bunch of people that are working together to create bear market strategies, right? That is what Miguel and I are doing on the academy side of things. So if you guys are interested in that, if you guys are interested in every Sunday, every single week, if you get the all-in package, right? If you get into the all-in package, we literally have private seminars every single Sunday. You will have access video to video with myself and Miguel to ask us anything you want to ask. And then we have specialized topics as well, that we are doing. Why do I say that? I say that because I am going to be taking a lot of profits this time. The only reason I'm going to be taking, and this will probably be the last time I do it, moving forward, next bull market, I will be taking loans against my assets. At the bottom of this upcoming bear market, I will start taking loans against my assets as the money flow is on the way up, and I will be accumulating at a breakneck speed, because I believe it's the last time I'm ever going to have to do that. From there, I
Yep.
believe I will be able to, quote, hodl strong, right? I'll be able to just stick with it, take loans against the assets, stick with it. We're going to operate as if we are wealthy. Wealthy people operate by using OPM, other people's money, right? Remember that. OPM. If you have the opportunity, and I'm going off on a tangent here, but if you have the opportunity to buy a house and you've got $400,000 sitting in an account and you can just pay cash for it, don't do it. That would be absolutely asinine, right? You pay the 2%, 2.5%, 2.75% interest rate on the actual mortgage, right? Because you can get a much higher yield than 2.75% in 100 different places. So essentially, you can put that 400 grand somewhere else. It will make more yield. It will pay your mortgage off, and you will be bringing in money. Work with other people's money. And this is what we are trying to do with crypto. We are trying to build up a portfolio that says, I don't need to rely on you. Somebody talked about hardware wallets. I am now my own bank, and I truly believe there's going to be a class of investor that is straightforward. I'm my own bank. I love hardware wallets. Miguel loves hardware wallets. I guess
100%.
what I'm trying to get at, guys, is that our world is changing. You either get on board and try to get to the top as quick as you can before everything changes, because you have that opportunity to be on the front end right now, and it's just where we're at. It's where we're at.
Yeah. So with this hardware wallet comment, being your own bank, like you're saying, this is the opportunity. If you read the Bitcoin Standard, that book right there behind Nick, the Crypto Keeper, the Bitcoin Standard, if you've read that book, you have seen the examples that get played out in that book, saying all the historical times that currencies have been destroyed and have fallen due to manipulation and inflation and so on. And the people that are able to identify the collapse of one currency and identify the rise of the next currency and are able to transfer their current position into the new currency and be an early adopter of the new currency are the people that benefit the most of the transfer of wealth. And they are the people, whether they were already rich, they become richer, way richer, they become wealthy. And if they were a poor person, an average citizen of the time, they are giving themselves the opportunity to become a wealthy, a rich person and jump through the barriers of class status when it comes to financials by being able to being an early adopter of a new currency on the rise and ditching the currency that is dying. The people that are the last to ditch that dying currency are going to feel the pain once they have to adopt these new currency that has already now become the standard. You will feel the pain. You will lose everything you have, or practically everything you have, and gain nothing from this new system. These things don't happen every day. They don't happen every 5 years. They don't happen every 4 years like a crypto cycle. They happen in generations. They happen in centuries. So this opportunity presented right now is one in a lifetime, in many lifetimes possibly. So take it to don't take it for granted. Take the best advantage of it that you can.
Guys, we appreciate everything that you guys are doing. Make sure you X out of the live chat, smash up the likes. If you're not subscribed, we're giving away $500. Why would you not be subscribed, right? Be subscribed to Debate Crypto. We're giving away $500 a day or two before Christmas. That's all you got to do. Subscribe on YouTube to Debate Crypto. Let me finish the evening with this. First of all, we love you guys. We appreciate every single one of you here. This talk, these what if Wednesdays go into these deep thinking, just not accepting what's right in front of us as fact and questioning, wait a minute, there is other ideas as to how life could play out, as to what is going on, that is what's next in front of us, right? And so I guess what I want to say is that of all of the ideas that we pushed out today, we know it was a lot. We know there was a lot of, negativity about all this doom and gloom that could be happening. But the reality is, if you are on this stream, I want to give you a little hopium, right? And actually, it's not even hopium. It's just a fact. You are part of the 1%. You are the front end of an absolute revolution, and it is happening. And I want to encourage you guys, right? No matter what happens in this crazy world that we live in right now, being asset heavy, I don't think anyone could argue that being asset heavy is going to be a winner. Now, do we need cash on the sidelines until we figure out what cash is going to look like moving forward? Yeah, absolutely. We always need some sort of a reserve. But I guess I just want to be the encourager that we have an opportunity that is blockchain, that is crypto, that is Bitcoin, that is Ethereum sitting in front of us, that I think that we would be crazy to ignore. Miguel, do we have anything in the chat before we jump out of here that we missed or need to touch on before we jump
No,
off?
I think we're good. I think we're good.
So yeah, Crypto fam, we love each and every one of you. We thank you for joining in. We're here at least 5 days a week, and 7 days a week we're pushing out content, but we are live literally 5 days a week. Thursday nights, which is tomorrow, with CVO Crypto, right? It is TA Thursday. And people seem to love it. We go deep dive into TA. What's going on now? Guys, we had a big correction today, right? Quote unquote big correction. A nice size correction has happened today. Even while we were on the stream, I think we had a little bit more of a correction. TA Thursdays, make sure you're there tomorrow. The reality is, on a normal basis, we are doing two things. We are helping to educate you. We try to make things as simple as possible so that you can make a better game plan. And if you want a little bit more of a private feel to that, if you want to be a part of something, of another little revolution that's happening, we have the DebateCrypto.Academy, the Debate Crypto Academy fam. If you're in TikTok, the link's in my bio. If you are in YouTube, obviously just check it out, DebateCrypto.Academy. We are doing private seminars every single Sunday. Guys, listen, I'm going to finish.
The link is in the bio, guys. The link is in the description of the video.
It's in the description. Check it out. We're literally talking about $12.50 for an hour or two, depending on the Sunday, of live chat with myself and Miguel. So I just want to give you guys some encouragement. Check it out. We appreciate each and every one of you. Guys, until next time, hodl.
Like it's hot.